Here we go again. Let's leave it for a few minutes because I know that not all of you jump on immediately, but still we're here and it's immediate for us. So before we begin proper, like the proper show, I would like to say good evening. I almost said good morning again. Oh gosh. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Off the Cuff. It is March the 26th or something. I'm not sure if I've got that right, but I think I have. Anyway, before we begin, before we go any further, I'd like to say hello to Grey Eagle. Of course, it seems silly saying hello to him because, you know, I've been with him through the day. But anyway, we say hello to Grey Eagle as always. And hello, Chris. Are you there?
I'm here, Rosemary. It's a Friday evening. We're raring to go.
Oh, I know. You know what? So many people have sort of had a rough week, a tough week, working hard, and now it's Friday, and you know they're all going, yay! Finally, even if you don't, excuse me, even if you don't have anything planned for the weekend, it's still the weekend, right? And you know, it means that there's no. Well, a different kind of stress. I was going to say it means there's no stress. Of course, we have stress because we have family, we have gardening. I'm going to tell you what I did today. And that's how we're going to start off because we were talking the other day, I think it was on Thursday morning, we were talking about my garden and I meant to cut one of the flowers and then I forgot all about it. I wanted to show you my gardenias. Maybe sort of tomorrow when we're doing the show tomorrow, maybe I will show you what a gardenia looks like. Of course, you won't be able to smell it, but my gardenias are just starting to pop open very carefully, very gently. And I was also talking about the jasmine that I have surrounding the outside of the house in certain parts of the house. And I was talking about taking cuttings, which I actually did today. I went outside today and I took some nice cuttings of my evergreen jasmine. I have some lovely rooting powder, which I put them in, and then I've dumped them in some water. So I'm going to wait on those and see if they actually are nice to me and do some rooting. Wrong time really for me to do it because really you should actually not take the cuttings when the thing is flowering. To my surprise, they're not flowering on one side. The side that I was taking the cuttings from, they were not actually flowering. I didn't notice them flowering. But then as I'm taking the cuttings, I'm thinking there's a lovely smell here because I don't know if you know about jasmine. Oh, wonderful, wonderful smell, beautifully perfumed. It wafts over in the breeze, and I turn around, and there we have clusters of blooms growing on the fabulous jasmine vines. So anyway, I've taken some cuttings. They'll either root, and I'll stick them in the ground, or they won't root, and I'll try again once the flowering has finished, once the flowering season has finished. But anyway, so I've been doing a little bit with my green fingers, with my, I think in America you say green thumb, we say green thumb or green fingers, whatever it is. Which reminds me, there is a great movie. Have you ever seen it, Chris? It is called Green Fingers. And it's a British film. It's a British film. And it's based on a true story. And this really happened. I won't tell you too much, but it's there's a prison, an open prison in England where these prisoners are, and for whatever reason, one reason or another, it is decided that some of the prisoners, because it's an open prison, some of the prisoners can, you know, they should make a garden. So, and it goes from there, and it's a lovely movie. You know, really just a really nice, easy, no cursing, no swearing, no violence, no, none of that. It's just a really nice movie. It's called Green Fingers, and it's got Colin somebody, oh golly, I've forgotten his name, but anyway, if anybody's listening and you know which movie I'm talking about, maybe you'd like to tell us who the star of that show is, but he's just a lovely, lovely guy. Anyway, So that's what I've been doing. What have you been doing today, Chris?
Well, it's funny just because of the name of that show, all of a sudden a story of my youth popped into my head. Now
Okay.
there were 7 kids in my family growing up, and my parents, and we were in a Ford Falcon station wagon driving south from Massachusetts. And my father had a CB in the car. Do you know what that is?
Like a radio thing?
Yeah, for the truckers, they talk to each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just liked to listen to it. And of course, they had all that lingo that you would have heard on Hollywood, something about the tens and the big buddies and how are you kind of things. And somehow my mom got on that CB because, she'd seen something dangerous on the road and she was, trying to alert people to it. And all of a sudden the trucker comes back to her, "What's your handle?" Because that were the names. And she's like all embarrassed and stumbling. And she didn't know there were protocols to being on the radio and all these other kinds of things. And she's stumbling to come up with a name. And she's holding the microphone in her hand and she's looking at her hand and her fingers. And she goes, "Long fingers." So that suddenly became her handle, Long Fingers. So when you
Long
said
fingers.
that title
Well,
for the movie, I was like, "Whoa." I don't know why that popped up.
well, these memories have a habit of popping up for us, don't they? Long fingers. That is so funny.
Yeah, Judith saying Clive Owen, Helen
There
Mirren,
you
and
are.
Green Fingers.
Yeah, Clive Owen. Why I'm thinking Colin, I don't know, but Clive Owen is one of my favourite actors. Do you know him at all, Chris? He's been in some great things.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
And he's a British actor, but he's really fabulous. He's just a really great actor, I think. Anyway, Green Fingers. Well, who was it who sent that to us?
That one was Judith.
Thank you, Judith. And did you watch it yet, or are you about to watch it? That's we want to we're sort of we want to talk to you guys today. We want interactions going on, all that good stuff. So yeah. So I'm also watching. Um, I don't actually watch a great deal of television, but I was browsing through the other day. My fingers were aching with my knitting. I decided that I got to a complicated part. I'd done the back, I'd done the front. I'd knitted and forgotten to do the neckline of the front of the sweater, so I had to undo a few rows, about 20 rows, which is not easy because I'm doing cable. I love doing cable, but anyway, so I did that. Now I'm at the stage of I'm about to start the sleeves, and I've done the cuffs, and now I've got to figure out how I'm going to work the pattern into the sleeves. You don't really want to hear this, any of you, do you? I'm just mumbling away, talking to myself, and so uninteresting. But anyway, so I thought, let me just see if there's anything good on TV. And sure enough, I found this wonderful series. Of course, not that I was looking for a British setting, but there's this wonderful series, and I think it's on Amazon Prime Video. It's a free series, and it's called The Village. And it's a series. I think there are 2 series so far. I don't know if there's going to be a third one. I hope there's going to be a third one. But it begins sort of just before World War One, and it talks about the villagers, and it talks about the Lord of the Manor, and it shows you life as it used to be, and the hardships of people and how people lived. And it's just a very great story, and sort of gives you an historical insight into how people used to live in those awful days back then, where you know life was so tough, so hard, unless of course you had money, which the majority of people did not. So I'm watching that as well. So if you're in the mood for watching something, certainly Green Fingers with Clive Owen, thank you for that. And definitely try The Village, because It's good. It's a good one. I've also got, because before I go to bed at night, you'll all laugh at this. It's a little habit. I'm a creature of habit. I'll actually, very often, I climb into bed at night and I'll switch on YouTube just for about half an hour or something. And I like to watch, and they are British shows. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. I like to watch Would I Lie to You, which is hysterically funny, a really, really funny show, which we can't get in America, but you can get it on YouTube. And then I discovered another show, which is called House of Games, and it's a quiz show. And if you are a quizzer and you like quizzes, this is the show for you. And I often fall asleep when I put it on. I'll either fall asleep or I won't go to sleep and then wish I had gone to sleep because I get so interested. It depends on the quiz. It depends on who's playing the quiz. They usually have 4 contestants, and that's a good thing. All right, I'm done now talking about movies and TV and all of that, because I don't want you guys to get the impression that that's all I do all day, every day, because actually I rarely watch TV. Chris, how are we doing? Is there
Oh, come on.
anybody there?
We know you pushed that box of bonbons to the side before we went live. You know
What?
there was a television show where a person sat on the couch all day watching TV, but they also had to eat their bonbons. So it goes together, bonbons and watching TV.
Okay. What do you consider to be bonbons? Are they like a little French biscuit, or
I think they're uh shredded coconut with a candy coating on them. They could be like
don't you love shredded coconut? I love coconut in any shape or form. I love coconut. Yeah, no, sorry, but I could have done that, couldn't I? I could have actually done that, but I didn't. All right. So my daughter, my grandson, and the puppy are traveling. They're on a train, even as we're doing this show. They're on a train. They're going to a friend of theirs who lives a couple of hours away. They're taking the puppy with them. They should have some exciting times this weekend. We're going to see how well the puppy does when he's out of his own environment and in amongst the fields and in amongst all of that good stuff that will be going on for them this weekend. So, Chris, who have we got?
Oh, we have a lot of people on, Rosemary, and they're agreeing with, some of your choices for the films, and they're all saying, they're going to check out the series that you mentioned. I put into the chat room if people could write in what either their most inspirational movie was or the funniest movie that they ever watched. So Maggie says Spaceballs. I'm assuming that's the funny one. Have you ever watched that?
No.
It's a really goofy, funny one. Because
Okay.
let's face it, when people have had a rough week or they're feeling down, you either want to be inspired or you want to laugh.
That reminds me of a great movie called Space Cowboys. Have you seen that?
No, I have
It's
not.
Oh God, it's got some great actors. There are 4 old, decrepit, crotchety old men. This is what they play. These who have been in the Air Force and have been on the space program and now retired, and they never actually went into space. It was their dream to go into space, but there's a bad guy who kept them out of going into space. All of that stuff. It's a very funny movie, but it's a great movie. It's got, I'm trying to think who it's got. I want to say, I think Clint Eastwood is in there somewhere. And anyway, if anybody's Googling, come on, who is it who's in there? There are 4 of them anyway. And it's such a great movie, and it's a fun movie. And should I tell you that they do actually get to go into space, but they almost don't, or do they? You got to watch it, Chris. You'll love that movie. It's not a romantic movie. It's mostly about these 4 old codgers who, one of them, I think, became a minister when he left the Air Force or whatever it was in. And oh golly, I wish I could think of his name because he's such a famous guy. Anyway, it's a funny, sort of poignant and interesting, and just a cool movie to sit down and watch. You don't have to think much about it. It's called Space Cowboys. I thought we weren't going to do any more movies, but here we are. You're saying things that remind me of some of the good movies that I've watched. And
Maggie
of
said
course,
Donald Sutherland. Was he in
yeah,
that?
yeah, Donald Sutherland, absolutely. He's one of them. He's very funny in that movie. Actually, he's really funny in that movie. Um, anyway, and one of my most ridiculous but funniest and one of my favorite movies is Stuck on You, which is a really funny movie. My daughter can't watch it. She watches about 10 or 15 minutes of it and she says how ridiculous it is. I'm not watching this. And but I watched it one night when I had nothing else to do and I was browsing and came upon this thing and I watched this movie. It's got two brilliant actors in it. I watched this movie. It is so funny. I only watched it because there was nothing else to watch, but then I got into it. You know how that happens? You think, no, it's not for me, not for me, and then all of a sudden you're in it. And it's one of my favorites. Cher's in it, Meryl Streep's in it, on and on it goes. Anyway, Chris, moving on.
Well, you can't move on because people are responding to you here.
Oh, good, all right then.
So both
Okay.
Jeff and Pamela were listing the actors. So Clint Eastwood, James
Yes, Ghana.
Garner, Donald Sutherland, Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes, yes. They are the Space Cowboys, and they're all brilliant in this. They are, you know, they are all, even if you don't like them individually as actors, they are brilliant in that movie. And it's just a chill out, laughing, fun, whatever it is movie. And I just love that movie. That's another favorite of mine. So you see, I'm giving you all things to watch over the weekend. And Easter's coming up. So, you know, you need to make a list of all the movies that you really find just that you have fun with. I know that Chris has said, list a movie if you've had a movie that really inspires you. That's great. For really good downtime, horrible movie, which is a true story. And it's a really awful movie because what this movie represents, you know, when you watch this movie, if you don't know the history behind it, when you watch this movie, you actually think that it's, you know, something that happened in the, you know, the early 1900s or something. And then at the end of the movie, it actually sort of gives you a description of when this happened. And I remember when I sort of watched the movie thinking that, you know, that it couldn't possibly, you know, it must have been in the, you know, before the unions, before anything else, you know, sort of in the days when we watch it, like the episode I watched yesterday of The Village. You think it's in the bygone days, but then it comes up and all the description come up and they say the last one of these places was closed in 1996. I mean, that's not that long ago. 1996. It's only 26 or 28 years ago. That's not that long ago. And this movie, you all want to know the name of the movie. I will warn you, it is painful to watch, especially when you know that it's a true story and written by, I think, at least 3 of the 4 girls that are featured, mainly featured in the movie. Each of them had, you know, their own story to tell, but it is a horrible movie. But at the same time, it's a good movie to watch because it reminds us that we must never ever go back there. We must never allow other people to take us back to the times when, in this case, unfortunately, it was the Catholic Church of Ireland, and these places that they sent these girls to, these poor girls. The worst thing that they ever did. Some of them were raped. Uh, of course, the priest would say it was their fault because they were they were temptation. Some of them had babies out of wedlock, and some of them did nothing at all, except the priest, for some reason, thought they were a bit flighty or a bit, too forward or too friendly or whatever it is. Some of the girls were perhaps mentally challenged, and they were all sent to these. They were called the Magdalena. The movie's called the Magdalena House. Dreadful and painful, but at the same time inspiring in a way, because my goodness, these girls had to be so strong, and they were. When you see how they were treated, it's so really awful. True story. So that's another movie that if you want to, it's tough to watch, but if you want to watch a real life movie, and I think we can all sort of close our eyes and pretend these things didn't happen, but I think it's a really good thing for us to be able to, acknowledge that these things did happen, because if we don't acknowledge, and if we do pretend that these things didn't happen, well, then we know what's going to happen is going to happen again and again and again, isn't it? Okay, Chris.
So Karen's saying a funny movie is Birdcage, that has Robin Williams in it.
Yes, very funny movie.
And Pamela's saying RV with Robin Williams.
Oh, I don't know what that is. I'm not sure what that one is. And of course, then the food truck. That's a good one. And on we can go. Are there any other comments or questions that we've got out there which have nothing to do with TV?
Well, then I'm going to have to skip because everybody had responded to that.
No, don't skip. All right.
So
it's just that every time somebody mentions something, it reminds me of something else. But go on, I'll try and keep.
So there's Mrs. Doubtfire with Robin Williams. What did that one? Ned. I bought Waking Ned Divine.
If you have not seen Chris, you've got to see that movie.
All right, I'm writing it down.
You will sit in your chair and tears will. Who suggested Waking Ned Divine? It's got to
Rhonda.
be a person. Rhonda, I'm not sure if you're British. I don't think you are. How on earth did you come up with Waking Ned Divine? I was just thinking of that movie just the other day. The most hysterical movie. Very, very funny movie. Really, really funny. And of course, what is the one where they? The Full Monty is also another one, sort in some ways similar to Waking Ned Divine, but but for different reasons. The Full Monty is also a fun movie to watch. Right.
Then we have Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood.
Oh, I love that movie. Oh, is that a great movie? Oh, wow, yes. And that's an inspirational movie too.
Yeah, that's from Chris. Then Amy says Dances with Wolves.
Fabulous. Love it. Yes. Yes. Kev, my great Kevin Costner. That's Dances with Wolves. You must have seen that movie, right, Chris?
Yeah, definitely a couple of times. Heather wants to know what those ornaments behind you are, the ones which look like pretty empty frames.
They are empty frames, but they're very, very old, and they are sort of bronze frames. And ever since I've ever had them, I've said I want to get two sepia photos, one in each, but sepia, one of me and one of my daughter. But now it has to be one of me, my daughter, my grandson, and the puppy. So yes, I'll get around to filling them one day. But aren't they lovely? They really are, and they're quite heavy because, well, they're bronze. So yeah, they're very pretty. There you are. You were right. See, empty frames.
Judith says, I opened my coin purse yesterday and the under the mat key fell out. She had it made years ago. It has a Santa face. I don't know how it got from Texas to here. My sister passed away in December.
Oh, there you are then. Maybe she brought it to you. You know, when we receive gifts like that from the spirit world, they seem to just come out of nowhere. There is a word. Do you know what that word is, Chris?
I think I do.
It's called an apport, A-P-P-O-R-T. An apport is something that just seems to appear uh, seemingly out of nowhere. And an apport is a gift. They don't happen often. um, and they are very special. And if you receive an apport, if any of you ever receives an apport, you're going to ask me if I've received an apport, and I have from time to time received an apport over the years. But they are very, very special, and they are a gift from a beloved someone in the spirit world, a beloved person to you from the spirit world, because it's not easy to send an apport. Let me tell you, it requires a great deal of a certain kind of energy. Okay, moving on.
Samantha says, my angel's 44th birthday is today.
Oh, 44. Gosh, 44 years old. Do you know, I can remember exactly what I was doing when I was 44. There's a reason why I can remember what I was doing on my 44th birthday. I was actually mopping the floor in my kitchen in England. I'm feeling extremely sorry for myself. Anyway, all right, keep going, Chris.
Chris says, my repeat romantic movie that I love is The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston and Kevin
Oh,
Costner.
yeah. And she sings that, I can't remember now what the song is, but she sings the song that she's most famous for. And good old Kevin Costner's in that one as well, isn't he? And doesn't he play a great part?
Let's see. Then we have Susan saying, this is fun, as although I listen to you a lot, this is my first time live.
Oh, good. All right then.
Please,
Well, come on, Susan, participate.
she's saying, please help me to send healing to my brother Gordon. His hip is out of its socket and he is in a lot
Oh,
of pain. I
yikes.
have been sending healing thoughts and imagining him already healed.
Okay, we're going to definitely, Gordon, you said. Definitely. Okay, Gordon, wait for it. It's coming your way. Chris, we'll put him down on our healing list and we'll be sending him healing every day from now on. Please keep us posted as to how he's doing, would you, Susan?
All right. Then Donovan's Reef with John Wayne and Lee Marvin. Have you seen
What,
that one?
what was that?
Donovan's Reef.
Oh, golly, it rings a bell. It rings a bell. I'm not sure now you've said it, but it definitely rings a bell. Put it on the list, Chris, because I'm going to check it out.
Oh man, you're having me write down everything you're going to see here today. All right. Let us see.
And of course, the Quiet Man. See, I'm already thinking. The Quiet Man with, how can I forget the names of these people? John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. A great movie. There is a scene in that movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Chris. It's set in Ireland, and there's a scene there where he chases her all the way home and puts her over his knee. And it's a really funny, really
Was
funny.
that like a good man or something like that?
No, it's called The Quiet Man.
The Quiet Man. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
he's an American who comes to Ireland where his ancestors lived and where he, where, so he's come there and he meets Maureen O'Hara. John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara had that, oh, they had such magic when they were in a lot of films together and they had great magic together. They were fun together to watch. So, okay, keep going.
One of
You see, none of you realizes, and I didn't realize until I was doing this, but I do seem to know a lot of these movies, don't I?
you're a movieaholic in my opinion.
Okay, all right.
You say you don't watch TV, but you do love your movies. I can remember many a time we'd be there at your house in in Vermont, and you would have those stacks of movies, and we'd be poring over them and saying, "Which one are we gonna watch?" And then we'd
Oh
watch
yeah.
another one. We'd be curled up in the chairs, and you'd have your little either ice creams or M&Ms, or you'd have some little snack, popcorn. Oh, yeah.
Well,
Uh,
people thought, talking of M&Ms, people think I'm crazy because if I do have M&Ms, I keep them in a bag in the fridge, and if I'm going to watch a movie or something like that, I'll count out maybe 7 to 10 M&Ms in a little pot. Do you remember me doing that, Chris?
yes, you drove me crazy because that's my first handful.
And I still do it now. Just take just a few, and I'll make them last. It can take me 2 hours to eat 7 M&Ms if I'm so inclined to do that.
All right, one of our bottom brickers is on, Bridget saying hello.
Bridget, hi darling, how are you doing?
Yeah, I hope people were able to see the bottom brick exercise that you did this past Tuesday.
Oh, that was great. Wasn't Jen fabulous? She was such a great person for the bottom brick, and she was so brave. All of you bottom brickers, uh, all of you in our bottom brick club. I think I should be the head of the bottom brick club. What do you think, Chris?
So what title would you give yourself?
Head bottom bricker.
I was trying to come up with a building term. Jeff is
Or
on. Jeff, come up with a title for Rosemary if she's going to
head.
be head of the bottom brickers.
How about head bottom?
So Jeff's comment is my favorite newest movie about the demise of a particular Native American tribal family. The name is Hostiles.
Oh, oh. Well, Jeff, you always have good movies, and you always have good books. You always have good suggestions. Where would we find it? Can we find it on Netflix? Can we find it on Prime? Where do we find it? Or is it in the cinemas right now? Hostiles. And who's in it? See, I've given you a task now. So come on.
All right. Meg says, have you seen What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams? And if so, what is your take on it?
Yeah, let's not go there. Moving on.
Oh, come on.
But what
We
about
really want to know.
How about Field of Dreams? Field of Dreams is a great movie, great inspirational and fascinating movie, and the way they do all of that. Well, that's great. And Jeff, you reminded me, when we're talking about a true story, so many people do not know this movie. And in fact, when it was first made, I saw the raw version of it. Now, I'm going to tell you that my daughter was a baby, so I was only 20 something, barely 20 something actually. And I went with my friends to see this movie that was a true story. And but since it came out the first time, people thought that it was so awful, that it was so true. And people were worried about other people's sensibilities, that they actually, I don't know if they remade it, but they certainly cut and sliced it to give us, let's say, a nicer version, a not so bloody version. I don't know if any of you knows the movie that I'm talking about. You know what? I'm not going to mention the name of the movie. Let's see if anybody else knows the name of the movie, and I'll tell you at the end, unless somebody comes up with it and says, was it this? But it was because of its, I suppose, quite bloodthirsty, very, very direct, and told it as it was. And this movie was made through the accounts of one particular guy. Can't say too much to you because I'm not going to give it away. There'll be a prize if you get the name of this movie. There's going to be a prize. The prize will be, I'll blow you a kiss, just to you, if you get this movie. But it's an amazing, amazing movie, and I do wish more people would watch it because it's a true story and it's very much a part of American history. I remember going to see this movie with three of my girlfriends, and I think it might have been the first time that I'd ever left Samantha with my husband to babysit. I was so in shock and so moved after I'd seen this movie. I could barely talk, and I kept thinking about it for days and weeks on ends. In fact, it really had a major impact on me.
Jeff's wondering, is it Little Big Man?
No. Good shot, Jeff, but no. And that's also that's a great movie. But there you are, put it out to you now. So if you get it right, I will give you the prize of blowing you a kiss, which will go right to you from me. So
Soldier Blue.
Who said that?
Heather.
Ready? Are you ready? To Heather. There you go. Soldier Blue. Did you see it, Heather, or is it just something that you've just come up with, or did you Google it, or what? Did I give too much away? And I think most people have seen the lighter version, let's say, but when it came to England, it came in all its raw glory. And anyway, the general who led this army and performed these atrocities, and in fact would sit in his armchair, and I can't remember the name of the guy, the general now, but he was actually a very famous general and revered. But then when all of this came to light, I think he was stripped of his title or whatever. He would sit in his armchair and encourage his soldiers to do the most atrocious things to the Native Americans. It definitely is a movie to watch, but I doubt very much. If anybody knows how I can get the original movie, I would love to have it. Not because I am a gory kind of. Actually, I do like movies with blood and gore. It's so true, I do. But when it's a true story, I think if you're not going to get all of the truth, then why bother? And it shows what people do in the name of war, in the name of glory. And I think that's a very poignant point I'm making here, especially right now, because I personally do not believe that there is any excuse for war. Let's not go there, because now I can think of good reasons why we should stand up for ourselves. But wars where people mutilate, where they torture, where they damage, without just cause. Anyway, moving on, Chris.
Heather says, yes, I was horrified and I've never forgotten it.
Yeah, right. It really is like totally sticks in your mind. I think
Maggie came up with a name for you over the bottom brickers.
Oh, good. Come on, then.
Brick Foreman.
No, don't like it. Good try, Maggie. Did you want a kiss for that? Give you a kiss. But no, I shan't be using that one.
Judith says top bottom bricker.
Well, I'm not really the top bottom bricker, because all of these wonderful people who do the bottom brick, they are so brave and they are so amazing to come on and for us all to see what they went through, and for all of us to see them at the most vulnerable. And they do so much for everybody watching, because there isn't a person who can't relate to some of what each of the bottom brickers is telling us about and talking about. So I feel that they're the top brickers. I'm just the person I'm the orchestrator. How about I'll be the whatever that is. I'll be the maestro.
All right. So Cornelius says The Quiet Man is a legend in cinema, the best work of many great talents.
Oh, I think so too. I love your name. Did your mummy name you that? Where did you get that wonderful name from Cornelius? And I'm trying to think. There was a very famous Cornelius. Help me out here, Cornelius. Who was it? Who was it? In history, there is a Cornelius. Was he a Roman soldier or something? There, you see, I'm sort of getting there. I'll get there. If you know Cornelius, can you just tell me, please? Put me out of my misery. I think he was some sort of a legionnaire or a leader of some Roman legion, whatever. Chris, I'm
Mikey,
actually liking this show. It's making me think, and I'm hoping everybody else is just having as much fun as we're having.
Mikey says, oh, where do you go? I love Penny Serenade with Cary Grant.
Oh, I bet I've seen it, but I don't remember it. But let's put that on the list.
Then we have McClintock with John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara.
A fabulous movie. Yes, yes, that's a great, great movie. Yeah. When they get into it and they start arguing, and then he's had enough and he throws her over his shoulder. Or I think in that one, don't people somehow get thrown into the water? Not sure if it's an ocean or if it's a river or something, and everybody starts fighting and they all end up in the river. I think that's McClintock, but I'm not entirely sure.
All right, so a couple of the people had guessed on apport as being the name for the gift that suddenly appears. And then Mark says, I wish we could share photos live. I had an apport. My dad dropped 2 quarters in front of me. 1965 and 1986 meant so much to me. My movie is Moonstruck, and I actually have a signed script.
That's sure, isn't it? Moonstruck.
I think is that the one you were talking about?
No, that's sure
No?
though. No,
Okay.
sure is in Moonstruck. I think if that's the one, Mark, that you mean. And how nice to have an apport. It makes me smile, Chris, when I hear you say it. You say
And now I
apport.
want to keep saying apport just so I could be opposite of your
No, but it's
apport.
not. But it really isn't.
No, I
It
know.
really isn't. What do we call an app? We don't call it an app. We don't, well, whatever that would be. It's an apport. Anyway, apport. Anyway, go ahead. Carry on. It's just,
All right.
I'm making fun of you now.
That's okay. This is Friday night. We can do anything.
Well, I know. Isn't that nice?
Chris says Bright Bricks as a name.
No.
Jeff says
but keep
Cornerstone will be your bottom brick name. Cornerstone.
What? Waterstone?
Cornerstone.
Cornerstone. Yes, but it isn't the cornerstone though, is it? It's that middle brick of our foundation. It's sort of the one brick that supports all of the others. Jeff, I know that you're going to now write to me and say that would be the cornerstone. But I always visualize the brick wall, and I visualize sort of the flat wall, not the corners, but the flat wall. And when I'm looking at the bottom brick, I visualize it as being dead center, right in the center at the very bottom of the wall. And if you pull that out, that wall is, definitely going to sort of start to lose its strength, let's say. And you keep pulling at the bottom brick, and then you take another one out, that wall is going to crumble. And that's what that's all about, because we want the wall to crumble in front of our very eyes, so it doesn't hold us stuck anymore. We can't hide behind it. It isn't even there anymore. And boy, oh boy, it sets us free.
All right. Bridget says, I think Rosemary could be the civil engineer of the brick projects.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
And then Busy with Brilliance says, how about Keystone?
Yeah, well, actually, good, because you're sort of in there with Jeff a little bit. I'm going to throw a word out to you all. And let's see if I'm going to give you another prize. I'm going to see if any of you, you can't look it up, because if you look it up, it's cheating. You can look it up at the end if you want. But seeing as we're talking about, I'll give you a little clue, seeing as we're talking about sort of the orchestrator of the engineer of building the wall, or being the top bricker or whatever, I'm going to give you a wonderful word, which I'm actually going to be teaching my grandson very, very soon. And the word is, and it depends, you can pronounce it. When you pronounce it, it doesn't sound as if it's like it's being spelled, but I'm going to be a really nice person. I'm going to spell it for you. So I'm going to spell the word first, Oligarch.
I've heard more about that name since the Russia-Ukraine war than I've ever heard it before.
So maybe it's not a new word to most of you, but it is pronounced oligarch. So, anybody know what it means? Chris, if you know what it means, you can answer. And it's not just a word that is used in Russia. It's not just a word that is used in the sort of that area of the world. But it's don't you think it's a wonderful word, oligarch? Anyway, I'll give you all another prize if you can come up with the answer for me. What does it mean, oligarch? And your prize will be, I'm going to blow you a kiss. I like these prizes. They don't cost me anything. Okay, Chris, let's keep going.
Kate doesn't think you should be Cornerstone because that's a ginormous corporate rehab facility, and I wouldn't go that route.
No, well, I dismissed it. But Jeff, as a builder would say that's the, cornerstones are the supporting structure for any building. And without a good solid cornerstone, the building doesn't survive. So that's where that is coming from. Okay, Chris, keep going.
Chris is giving an answer to your question, richness, and Maggie's saying billionaire corporate leaders.
Yeah, not quite right. No, Maggie is closest, but I'm not sure if it's quite right. Not necessarily. I think the rich part is not right. So, Maggie, I'd like to give you a kiss. Oh, I'll give you a kiss anyway. There you are for playing, but not quite right. Not quite. Although, in order to be this, you do have to probably be wealthy or part of a wealthy group. See, I'm giving you little clues as we go along now. Oligarch.
All right. Then we have Mark with a title, How About the Healing Brickers?
Oh, I like that. Nice, but no.
All right. Then we have.
Do you know what I'm really loving, Chris? I'm loving that everybody's joining in, or maybe not everybody. That anybody who's watching us for the first time is probably thinking that we're going mad here. What are we? What if we? I thought she was someone who talked to the dead, and all we're talking about is movies. And just wait till we start getting on the cooking thing.
Well, no. That has to go in your cooking show. This is off the cuff. That means you can ask any question you want. We can go down any subject line.
Exactly.
Whatever you want. Go wild. That's what we're waiting for.
I know.
So Judith is giving an answer to your oligarch as ruler. Chris is saying leader. Chris is saying esteemed leader.
Keep going. They're missing a word. You are right in as far as it goes. But there is a word which because not all leaders are oligarchs, so they're not all. Anyway, that's all I'm saying. I'm not giving any more away to you guys.
All right. Then we've got some conversations happening about the kisses that you're sending out. Maggie says, "I'll take half a kiss." Chris says, "I'll take a quarter." So everyone wants it.
when my grandson blows me kisses, right? So imagine this. There he is on the screen. He's blowing me a kiss, and this is what I do. I wait for 1 second, and I say, "Oh God, that one caught me right in the. Oh, that one's caught me on the nose." We have a lot of fun with kisses blowing. So just be careful if I'm blowing you a kiss. You never know quite where it's going to land.
All right, here's an answer. Loved, esteemed leader.
No, and certainly not loved necessarily, because they are more often than not loved. Absolutely not. So that's, of course, if your dictionary, and I did tell you not to look in the dictionary, but if your dictionary says that, I would argue with that, because I don't think that's right. But hey, who am I to argue with whoever it was who wrote the dictionary?
All right, then we have respected, esteemed leader, and esteemed leader held in high regard.
Not necessarily. No. There are two words really that are missing from these descriptions. Shall I put you all out of your misery?
They're not answering. You might as well.
In a minute, I'm going to put you all out of your misery. What else have we got here, Chris?
Bridget says, "Oh, hey, how about Jenga master, since Rosemary's pulling out the bottom?"
Vice first.
Oh, sorry, I've got got Siri jumping in. I'm sorry. What did you say, Chris?
How about Jenga? Jenga. It's a game. Jenga master, since you're pulling out the bottom.
Maybe. I'll think about that one. Okay, here's what we're missing from your descriptions of an oligarch. All right. So, loved, no, not necessarily. Often feared, and definitely powerful. So, a true oligarch is somebody who is the head of. It could actually be the head of a country, a little bit like, but it would be then a dictatorship. Could be the head of an organization, could be the head of anything at all, but usually is feared. Definitely, I would say respect, but does the respect come out of fear, which then is not respect at all? It's more like terror, and powerful. But yes, often feared. I'm thinking, what organization would an oligarch be a part of? Maybe a crime syndicate, maybe a mafia boss, maybe a dictator type of situation. Anyway, very powerful. Yes, applies to leaders, but leaders who I would say lead with an iron fist, and are often feared by many. That's my take on what an oligarch is. Did you know that, Chris?
Yes, because I had been reading about it recently. Kate had just slid in before you started with your definition, saying controller of a country, group, or institution that has all control, but fairly.
Yes. Not necessarily, no. Wouldn't it be nice if we thought that all oligarchs were fair, and they are not necessarily at all? In fact, if you're ruling whatever it is, if you're ruling a country or an organization, if you're, you know, ruling a group of people, and you are all powerful and feared, then very often it depends on the man. Some oligarchs, I'm sure, are fair, and some are, I'm sure, not. But thank you for that. You were close. All right. Let's carry on, Chris. I just thought I'd throw that into the mix. Why not, right?
I think we're ready for a change of subject. I think we're not getting any more questions on
Go.
the movies or that
Okay.
sort of thing.
Let's put something else out there. If somebody else has a word, yeah, let's have it. We could do some word. We could be some sort of some wordy quizzes here. Okay. All right, Chris. Change the subject. Go for it.
Well, Chris wants to know, can women hold that power?
Yes. And have done and do. Yes. You know, I was talking to someone the other day, this lovely young thing, who was so willing to give her power away, not realizing that she was giving her power away. I think we have to teach our children, our daughters especially, that you know, women are so strong. I'd like to see any man have a baby and get through it without begging and pleading never to have to go through it again. But no, I think women can be very, very strong, very powerful, and as long as you own your own power, as long as you understand, you know, so often I think, you know, because we grew up, didn't we, in sort of in you know, in sort of earlier times, in the early 1900s, and of course before then, women didn't have a place. Look what we had to do to get women to get the vote. And so often, even now, I think so many women don't realize or are afraid to own their own power. We get women who are abused by their husbands. We get women who are abused by their children. How on earth did that happen? And it's because we give our power away. We just give it away and we don't even realize that we're doing it. And I think that, you know, when we have watched our wonderful bottom brickers, I'm still waiting for a man to be brave enough to do the bottom brick exercise. I'm waiting for that moment, and that will be fantastic. But so far, all our bottom brickers have been women who have been strong enough and brave enough to share with us. And in every case, I think, when you listen to them and you listen to their stories, they are women who in some way or another have given up their power, thinking that they don't own it or they don't have a right to it, or being intimidated by it, or having no self-confidence, means that you have somehow or another, whether you were younger or as you, even as you got older, giving up your power because uh, for so many different reasons. And I think when women start to understand, hang on a minute, we can do this by ourselves, we can be independent. It's nice to have a partner, it's nice to have someone in your life, but we can, if necessary, do this by ourselves, and better to do it by ourselves than to have an abusive partner in our lives. We see that sort of from time to time running through our bottom brickers. And I always have felt, just throwing this out there for anybody who wants to comment, because it is off the cuff, so we just, hey, we're just thinking about these things. But I think, being on your own, and especially women being on their own, although I know that men suffer being on their own too, but I think that being on your own, personally for me, the worst kind of loneliness that I've ever experienced is lying next to someone in bed and being alone. Lying next to someone, not being able to turn over to reach that person, to hold that person's hand, to be able to turn and talk to that person and know that that person is going to, talk to you and give to you. The worst kind of loneliness for me is lying in bed with someone and being so alone and so desperately, it's like it magnifies so much what being alone means. I don't know how any of you feel about that. Any comments there? See, we're sort of we're going all over the place with this show, right? We're going here, there, and everywhere.
I can think of a few times growing up. I was in Girl Scout camp once, and the boys' camp met with the girls' camp for a dance. Had never danced in my life, and I was a complete wallflower. I
Oh,
wanted so badly to get out on that dance floor and try what everybody else, 12-year-olds, were doing, but nobody had invited me to dance. And
oh,
there you didn't see the boys with the boys or the girls with the girls. It was you had to have a partner to get out there. That was definitely a feeling of being alone. But also it's like being alone in a crowd. That's very similar to what you're saying as well.
well, I don't. Yeah, but I think that being with, when you get into bed with someone, we hope it's because you at least like them a bit. uh, Usually it's someone you love. Usually it's someone you've committed to. Usually it's you might have had children with them, or whatever. But usually it's you're lying in bed with someone. Not always, but when you're lying in bed with someone who you love, who you've committed to, who you've made a life with, and suddenly being so alone because that person is not the person you thought they were. You can't trust them, you can't share with them, and and they, generally speaking, are oblivious to your pain and your heartache and all of the stuff that you're going through. That's tough. That's a tough one. What does anybody have to say about that, Chris?
Samantha says, I agree, Rosemary. I have been on my own for a number of years and at times feel lonely, but also have been in a relationship where I have felt very lonely
Yeah,
and alone, and that is the worst loneliness.
yeah. I would rather my own personal choice is I'd rather be on my own any day than be with someone who makes me feel less. That's a loneliness that you can't describe. Okay, what else have we got here?
Kate says, as a single, grieving, and harried mother, I am never as lonely as I was in my previous marriage.
I like that. I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
Maggie says you can have a life and children but still be alone.
Oh, yes, of course. Of course. And as you said, Chris, I can remember being in a swimming pool once with tons and tons of people and standing at the side and just feeling completely lost and totally alone. So you can go to a party and be alone. That's so true. Loneliness
Annika,
is. Go ahead.
sorry, Rosemary.
No,
Annika says being alone is not necessarily the same as being lonely.
well, that's true. I'm alone. I'm going to say such a huge part of my life I spend alone. Um, Having said that, so let me give you an idea of one of my days this last week. I'm here by myself, so I'm alone. And my phone did not stop ringing. I did one FaceTime call after another, and I kept, and by the end of the day, I'm thinking, I just want some quiet time. At the same time, I loved that people were there and I was talking to them. And didn't so. Yes, you're right. You can being alone can often be by choice, and I don't mind being alone because, you know me. I've always got someone to talk to. Sometimes if I'm out and in a supermarket or somewhere and I'm having a conversation with Grey Eagle, I do see people looking at me thinking, when you see that person who's just talking away to themselves when everybody thinks she's crazy, that's me. Keep going, Chris.
Busy with Brilliance says, as a medium, how do you create boundaries when you want to be alone?
No, do you know, it's so funny that you should ask me that question because yesterday I think it must have been from one of the conversation that's some conversation or another that I've been having. And we did talk on Thursday in our we have a Thursday show. For those of you who knew, we have a Thursday morning show which we call The Spirit World Sees All. And this Thursday we were talking about mediumship, and I was trying to explain to people that and I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for any other medium or psychic or whatever it is you want to call yourselves. I can only speak for me. And my neighbour asked me, actually, Rosemary, when are you going to retire? And I looked at him like he was a crazy person, because he didn't understand. This is not something that I do. This is something that I am. This is what I am. And and of course, because it's what I am, it's there every single day of my life. How do I switch off? How do I put up boundaries? And I was thinking about this just yesterday. I don't. Why would I? I trust. I'm fortunate in that I have Grey Eagle that I trust, and I know that if there are any boundaries to be put up, if there is anything out there that I need to be protected from, yes, he's got my back, as he would say. He is laughing at me. So I don't ever have to think about saying no. And you're asking, do I ever want alone time? Okay, I'm going to throw something out to you all that you might find a little bit confusing. But anyway, you can't see it from my point of view. But remember, I can't see it from your point of view either. So when people ask me that question, isn't it a bit crowded? Don't you wish for quiet time? How do you switch off and so on? Why would I switch off? And people look at me thinking, doesn't it drive you crazy, all this stuff going on all the time? But now look at it from my side of things, and I look at you all of you who don't see, all of you who don't hear, all of you who don't have that connection. And I look at you all and I think, wow, doesn't it get lonely? Or, how do you manage? How do you manage? I can't imagine what it must be like for you. Not being able to see, not being able to be aware, not being able to reach out, not being able to have a conversation. That must be awful. So when you look at me and you think that, I'm saying to you, there are no boundaries. I never say no. And why would I want quiet time? Because, because I do get quiet time. I read a lot. So, but I know that there's always someone there. And I know that those in the spirit world are there for me if I need them, or if they just want to come and say hello to me. Why would I ever switch off? But I look at you all and I think, gosh, it must be so hard for you. How difficult must it be for you? How heartbreaking it must be for you. So, with that in mind, maybe somebody might like to make a comment.
I'll make a comment. You are absolutely correct.
Yeah, and I wish that you could all see what I see. I wish it weren't so lonely for you, Chris. I wish it weren't so hard for you. I wish.
All right. Well, we have just maybe 5-ish more minutes, Rosemary. So I have 3 people right now with comments in. Susan says, "Oh heck, 2 things I so relate to. First, blowing kisses and catching them. I have done this always. And now about being alone in bed with a husband who no longer even wants to understand me. I now have mostly enjoyably have been on my own since the end of 2005.
Good. I'm glad. I'm really glad. Thank you for sharing that, darling, because I know how tough it is for us to share things sometimes.
Cindy said, "Yes, I have had that experience. Living with an emotionally unavailable person will cause that loneliness.
Yeah.
It is way worse than doing it all on my own for the past 10 years and have rarely been lonely.
Good for you, my darling.
Clara says, I'm curious, how did you and Gray Eagle choose each other? Or did Gray Eagle choose you? Do you have a sense of how long you both have been together, such as lifetimes?
Forever and ever and ever. And you need to read The Eagle and the Rose. I'm not sure the answer will be in there, but that's what you need to do. You need to read The Eagle and the Rose, which we only have another less than 2 months now before we come to the end of the 25th anniversary of the publishing of The Eagle and the Rose. We should plan to do something before then, Chris.
Yes, we have some plans in the works, don't we?
Oh, don't we though? I'm really excited. I'm very excited about some of the plans that we've got. We'll tell you another day.
Helen says it is lonely for us. Maggie says, that sounds so comforting. I swear I felt a hug on my way into work and said a heartfelt thank you.
Oh, I'm glad, darling. I'm really glad.
Clara's asking, what has Gray Eagle learned from being with you and our world?
Well, we need to have at least another several hours to go through that. He's laughing at me. I don't, well, I'm sure that we all learn, don't we, through our experiences. But we've known each other for so long, and yeah, it was going to take far too long for us to go into that. As I'm talking to you, I'm asking him, is there anything that he would like to say about that? And he does say that his heart breaks every time he sees an unkindness. His heart breaks every time he sees that gentleness is ignored, and he's giving me a little stroke on my chin because I need to be very aware to stay gentle and to be kind always, because what Grey Eagle says to all of us is your world needs gentleness, and I think he learns that every day because unfortunately, myself included, we do forget that, don't we? Our world needs gentleness, and it's up to all of us in our own way to make sure that that is what happens. And I think on that amazing and fantastic and wonderful note from my darling Grey Eagle, I think we should end it there. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've had as much fun, and I'm going to have more fun at the weekend because I'm going to go through some of those movies that you've suggested. We shall be doing another off the cuff. Keep watching. You never know when it's going to happen. We shall surprise you so often with so many of our off the cuffs. We're going to be doing more of that tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? It's tomorrow Saturday. Tomorrow Saturday morning we shall be back with our story time. I think I mentioned what the story time would be, and I've now forgotten what it's going to be, but anyway, we're going to be doing story time tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 11 a.m. On the East Coast of the United States, because I know many of you are watching from different countries, and in England it's going to be 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's as far as I'm able to go with that time clock. So there you have it. So 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 hours back for California, just to throw that into the mix. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Chris. Of course, thanks to Grey Eagle as well. Until I see you all again. I'm hoping tomorrow, but if not, just go to the website, check us out, rosemaryaltea.com. I had to think about it. If you want to send us an email, if you have questions, email us Chris, K-R-I-S, at rosemaryaltea.com, and Chris will answer the best way she can for you. So until I see you all again, thank you so much for joining us. Please, please, please Have a very, very blessed rest of the day, night, or morning in Australia, because I think it's morning. Have a very blessed rest of the day, and have a very blessed and a very wonderful weekend, everybody.